Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today. This is going to be a continuation of my series of videos where I was testing basically all the shields and giving you their strength and the base shield multipliers and kind of a description of them. I previously did one for all the tank shields and some of the miscellaneous ones like the iconic ones, movement modes, some trinket shields. That's going to be linked at the end of this video. So if you want to have some of those other shields tested and have their strengths and kind of detailed in the same kind of style as this video, you can find that linked. I'm also going to be coming out with a controller video that'll have all the controller shields tested as well, but this is going to be the healer one. So what I did was I was CR270, which is the 235 level item base. I put 235 skill points all into Resto and then 40 into Dom, which is more like a typical healer kind of spec, which left me at 299 dominance and 22,800 restoration. Now the restoration does seem low. That's because, as you see here, I did it in DPS stance. Because I'm doing, as you saw in the kind of video sped up clips in the beginning, little montage of me dying. In Doom Metropolis, if my stats are way like in healer stance I'd have 28,000 resto, that gives more room for the shields to just damage absorb, which leads to Doomsday walking away or walking out of my shield or not lasting long enough. So just being in DPS stance eliminates some of those variables. But being in DPS stance doesn't affect the base shield multipliers numbers whatsoever. So just like the damage absorbed would be a little bit higher if I was in healer stance, obviously, because I'd have about another, 6,000 resto. But it doesn't affect these numbers whatsoever because they stay static depending no matter what your stats are. So this is the important numbers here that we'll kind of delve into. But I just was doing it in DPS stance just for testing purposes. I also had 237 resto augments and rank 14 adaptive resto augments. So that's basically just the stats breakdown. Then the actual calculation, the base shield multiplier is determined by taking 112.5% of your restoration. Then you times that by what your actual restoration was, which is the 22,800, and then you add that with 150% of your dominance, which is the 299. So that's basically, those come out to 25,650 plus 448.5. So basically my base shield multiplier calculation-wise, stat-wise, is 26,098.5, and you get that basically by taking the damage absorbed, whatever from your shield test, divide that by your base shield multiplier calculation, which gives you the actual finished base multiplier. And basically what this means, the easiest way to think of this is just, this is how strong your shield is. This is how it scales. So no matter what your stats are, you could have 50,000 resto, full elite gear, everything, max OP items. These multipliers are going to stay the same when you do this type of test as if you were, level, CR210 with no healer gear. And bad resto stats. Like these multipliers don't change, they're static. So basically, let's kind of delve into this now. Celestial, nothing really out of the ordinary here. Now, all the supercharges were changed, were basically all made to 10,000, and they were nerfed a little bit in their strength because the group 10 user used to be a lot stronger. Then they kind of nerfed everything to be in line. So we got Celestial's Blessing with a 1.92, and basically at these stats is about 50,000 damage absorption. And actually, Blessing is a 4-man. Let me just correct that there. Concentrated Ground, that is technically it's still the strongest shield in the game. It's not technically a shield because if you've never seen it placed before, basically you can either place it on yourself by looking at the ground or placing on a target by having them highlighted, and then basically everything in that range gets basically their damage. It's not like a full complete shield because you still take damage, it's just a damage reduction. So basically everyone standing within the concentrated ground will take a massive damage reduction until basically the concentrated ground expires. The only thing, it's static, it doesn't move around. So it's similar to like Amazon Deflection where it doesn't really have like an upper limit. It basically just, it kind of expires because you have max damage reduction while you're in concentrated ground. So it works out to be a 10.25 modifier, which is well and above every other shield in the entire game, even Atomic's mass density. Sacrifice is a 3.03. That didn't change from basically the shield adjustments in a couple of game updates ago. Flux is a 1.94. Group transducer is a 4. Basically 3.99 to 4. So basically at those stats is 100,000 absorbed for 8 people. Boon of Souls actually came out to be the strongest. You'll see it better in the graph, but Boon of Souls is the strongest non-supercharged healer shield, which I found a bit interesting. I didn't actually know that for sorcery. Transcendence is a bit weaker, 2.51, because it also heals a little bit as well, so that's why it's not as strong a modifier. Then you've got Water, which has big wide range of shields. Bubbles are 1.92, which is the same as Blessing. Tempest Guard is the weakest one, but that's because it's an 8-man shield. All these other ones are 4-man. That's why they're not as strong. So even an 8-man shield has the option as well. Flutter Power. This is a very strong shield. Now, it's a personal shield. Basically, Flutter Power is more like it's a DPS ability, healer ability. What it does is basically just reduces the power cost, reduces the cooldowns, gives you some shield and power back as well. So it's very high utility, because basically you'd use Flutter Power. You could spam the Orb of Orion healing. You could spam a Solace of the Seas and refresh your cooldowns that way. So it's a very useful power for Water, especially in this new meta with the Eye of the Gemini and regenning Supercharge. So basically, if you're a water healer yourself, this shield's only going to be yourself, but it just means that you're not going to die while you're spamming those abilities from Flutter Power's effect. And Tranquil Pool is the weakest 8-man shield out of any of the healer power sets, but that's because it has that healing component. So the way the devs kind of adjusted healing shields are, if the more kind of abilities they have, like say they restore power, they restore health and shield, the shield component is going to be weaker. So say Group Transducer is only a shield. That's why it's got a higher modifier compared to Tranquil Pool, which shields and heals at the same time. And then Nature Swarm Shield, which is a 1.94, which is slightly above Blessing. Same as Flux. So basically, we kind of go down to the graph, which kind of displays a bit better. So obviously, Concentrated Ground is well and above everything else. Flutter Power is a personal shield, but it's very strong as well. And then you kind of go into the typical ones. So Group Transducer is the best, 3.99, followed by Sacrifice, Transcendence, and then you got Boon of Souls, which is the best one out of the regular 4-man shields. Flux is a 1.94, which is the same as Swarm Shield, and Bubble and Blessing are the same at 1.92. So it's very similar between the 4-man shields, between everything. As you can see, really not much of a difference between them. Tranquil Pool, obviously, is just a terrible healing. Like if you're looking for shield power as Water, you would not use Tranquil Pool. You would use Flutter Power, and basically that resets the cooldowns for Bubble and Tempest Guard. Or you could use Riptide on Bubble again. So basically, you do like Tempest Guard, Riptide, Bubble. So you got 2 bubbles and the Tempest Guard out. Or you're using Flutter Power to do more Solace of the Seas, get more healing over time. So it's really no water heal is really going to use Tranquil Pool anyway, and then Tempest Guard there. So basically, this is the breakdown for the healer shields. Just a kind of a quick summary for this, and then stay tuned to my next video, which will be a controller one, and then check out the link for the tanking one too, which will cover all the tank shields as well as the iconic and movement mode ones as well.